a little too much. I have to reword stuff and figure out a nicer way. I'm just so blunt. I'm just right to the point. It's
You
hard to get out of that habit.
it's what I'm trying to say is that you have a walk to the point where you understand. When you
Mm-hmm.
dig and search and look,
Mm-hmm.
when you deliver this message, they have not walked the walk.
Mm-hmm.
So they have not done their due diligence to that point. You're not, I mean, you can't spoon fed anybody the final result. You can't. I
Mm.
mean, that happens with even with children, with like, they have to build it up. It's a building up. You're,
And
you're
sometimes,
spoon,
yeah.
you're, you're spoon fed the final result, the final, they have not walked the walk to figure it out, to understand, to
Mm.
experience with the Lord, to test it out. You test it for yourself and you
Well,
deliver to them. You
I
understand
would
this?
have.
Somehow, yeah, process has to happen.
What I'm finding now is that the people coming into the faith since COVID, that
There,
one group,
yeah,
that one big group that came to Yahweh's truth, and they kind of bypassed all the Jewish Messianic Hebrew root stuff. Guess
yeah.
what? These people are coming right into the calendar. I
There's
know.
so many that are ready for some
Yeah,
things, but not for all things.
because it's not tradition. They're okay to give
Hmm.
that stuff up because old people, they have a hard time changing their habits.
Yeah.
And when we're so indoctrinated Torah cycle after Torah cycle of how many, I've been in it for about eight years, and a lot of people have been in it for a lot longer, and Torah cycle after Torah, it's just hard to get out of those habits, and I get that, but I'm very, very thankful because I've seen a huge group that's coming out from COVID and into the truth, repenting, coming back to Torah, and they're jumping right in on the right calendar, and they're learning at a faster rate
Yeah.
than I did. Yeah,
They're ready. Yeah, yeah. It took us a
it
longer
took us
time
longer.
than, yeah,
Yeah.
what we notice right now. People are like a sponge. But
Yeah, well, we also
they're,
didn't have
yeah.
the people jumping up and saying, we could do better either. I mean, at that time, I'm sure if there was somebody that was going to stand up and say, "Hey, looky over here." Although, yeah, when I went to Erin at first, and she was on this calendar, and I went to her with questions about, well, what do you do with this? And what do you do with Messiah being on the same Sabbath as Jeremy? Be my witness. I went in there and I asked her the questions, but she did not answer them. Instead,
Maybe
she was
because
just so,
they don't have the answers yet, and
well,
they
no.
choose to stay.
She did. It's just the way that
No.
she did it.
Mm.
She, she was very, very mean to me. And I'm just here looking for, like, here, like, I think she maybe took my question as a mocking question,
Maybe.
and she wouldn't answer it. So I kind of got, like, I didn't come onto the calendar, but when I jumped on Davidson's live and he was walking through the calendar, I'm like, Jeremy, you got to get in here. This is making so much sense. I can't even believe it. And then, I was incessant. I looked through all of his other videos, and I jumped on Ed's videos, and I was just eating it just as much as I can. I'm like, that one video when they were going over the Zadok Way calendar, and they were
Who's
like,
this? Who is this?
Ed on TikTok.
Eddie Chan? Or who?
No. It's
Oh,
Ed. It's Hawkins on TikTok. He and Davidson are in a group, and
I don't know. I don't have
he
TikTok.
Yeah, he does a lot of great, great videos. Great videos. And when I saw his one on Zadok Way, just like literally saying, here, do you see what they're doing here? They're literally changing, moving the equinox sign to a Wednesday. Just the only reason they do it, there's no scripture. The only reason why they're doing it is to have a Saturday Sabbath. I was hook, line, sinker from that day. It was over. Right, Jeremy? It
Yeah.
was over. There it is. And I was just starving. I wanted more. I wanted to test this out fully as much as I possibly can because I was horrified of bearing a false witness of Zadok. Like I was bearing a false witness, being, preachy about, all the things about Zadok, but I was doing it wrong. I felt so sorry. I felt so incredibly down on my face sorry. And I told you, part of my repentance is that I'm speaking out because like me, I would wish I would have that kind of somebody for me early on, so I wasn't bearing such a false witness. So, yeah.
Somebody has to break the ice.
I see. Yeah, he knows I'm good at it sometimes, and he knows. But how many times did I have to be knocked down, told off and this, that, the other thing?
It's
I mean,
not
I
an
get
easy
it.
position to be.
Yeah,
But you have the driven, so it's just
yeah,
you're equipped with that. So
yeah,
shake it off, like don't
yeah,
take it. They don't have anything against you. They have something against your words, what they
yeah,
hear, the way they hear, the way they
yeah.
perceive the words. So
Hmm.
it's it will change. It's not
Hmm.
that happens to each and every one of us when we talk about any of the subjects with people that don't get it. You're a breaker,
Hmm.
you're icebreaker at any
Yeah,
level to somebody that's under your understanding, So it's just you experience
yeah.
that. But then you feel you're the
Hmm.
icebreaker in every area. It's just like, gosh, what is it, Mom?
Hmm.
Give
Yeah,
me a
yeah.
second, okay?
But I
Yeah.
really appreciate everyone jumping in and trying to help them. And
Honestly, in my spirit, something is like he's not so involved because he doesn't care. It's
you
something
know,
is gonna clear out this for him. It's,
well, guys have a hard time changing, and I get that. Guys have a hard time with it. And it just seems like with the calendar that he does do, it's full of, like, he uses the equal lux, he denies the equinox. So
I
he
don't think
sees,
he's using the Ecolux. I don't think he knows how to, because I think he does the same calendar I used to. He just
no,
doesn't
he
know how to
does.
explain it.
He admitted it. He said he uses equal day, equal night in Israel. And he explained that that's where we're supposed to be, and this is where we need to cite this, right?
But then
But
how did
he,
he start the year on? I think he started his year started on the the Wednesday before our
well,
Thursday, to put it like this.
exactly.
So
So that
in that regard,
he,
he didn't use the equinox. He used the
well,
equinox.
no, he cited the
Oh,
equal lux in Jerusalem. He used equal day, equal
okay.
night in Jerusalem, and then he switches it over to a Wednesday.
Okay.
So
So he
so he
uses the
cites it
equinox.
just
There are the okay. Now
same
I get it.
thing. Same thing
Yeah.
that same thing that Zadok Way does. They cite the equinox, then move it to a
Hmm.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
cites the equal lux and then moves it to a Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So because he denies the straight line shadow. He said this is
How
just
if he wasn't on the era of internet, how would he know it's the equinox in Jerusalem?
so exactly. So his
You,
calendar. would not work if we were stranded on a deserted island. And he would have to use man's calculations to be able to find the equilux and find when the Wednesday is, which both you can't do on a deserted island. So that's he has to rely on man's calculations, where for our group, we don't really need to cite the equilux or the equal day, equal night in Jerusalem. We're not there, but at least we have that sun sign that is gone out throughout all the world, as Psalms 19 says. We have that sign in every single location. Praise Yah, because he knew that we would be scattered. Now, do we need equal day, equal night? Well, it's helpful because then you know how to do your creation week and why we have the straight line shadow. It's just, it makes all the sense because it's the straight line. It's you know, it's the fourth branch of the menorah, which is the straight. It's just all these scriptures. It's the glory, it's the esteem of Yah. It's the day that the temple would light up. This is a phenomenon that we experience 4 times a year because we have the solstices as well. So, we have all the proof and evidence for it. We could cite it no matter where we're at.
Yeah.
So, it's hard to deny, but he wants to deny it. But and then so he'll then he'll match it up with the Wednesday. He'll cite equal day, equal night. He's using Jerusalem time, and then he moves it to the first Wednesday. So he must be on a really off calendar, because I don't know anyone else who does that.
I don't know either. So I didn't know he's following I thought he was following, he calls it equinox and confused it with equinox. So,
No,
because
no, he
some people are
denies.
confused. Oh, yeah, about that as well.
Yeah, he denies the straight line shadow. He only does equal day, equal night. Whereas we
Oh,
see equal day, equal night in Jerusalem, just like him, but that's the divider. That's day 365. And then we have our second cycle of months coming in on day 4. That goes on, and that's where we hold the creation week Sabbath, and then we have our feasts. But see, he wants to have just one cycle, just like Babylon, too. It's very simple. For him, you just have to go on Google and search when equal day, equal night is, and then you have to look to a Babylon calendar next. And then that's how you know. See, ours goes off the luminaries. His doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah. Because how do you use your stars? So maybe you should ask him that. Because, we have a really...
I'm gonna have a private conversation with him because it's like I'm telling you, we were having conversation outside a while
Yeah.
ago about the
Yeah.
day. So I'll try to have a conversation with him outside and just to reason with him what are the question was, if he can see something to ask me what he cannot see, and
Yeah.
I'll try to respond to some of his things
That would
that
be
he
great.
wrote. Yeah, so not in front of everybody because he might feel
Right.
challenged.
Mm-hmm. That
Since
would be
he
good.
wrote on my page, I will do that. I have
Mm-hmm.
um, to sit down and just have this because he's probably gonna keep going. You really have to have the time to sit down and to explain because if you don't deconstruct the things that he's believing in order to
Mm-hmm.
see or
Mm-hmm.
to make him to ask the questions for him, I want to ask him some questions to see where he got these things from. Why is he so stuck with them? That might
Yeah.
be one of the reasons he is so, uh, involved in this theory. Can you leave it alone, mommy? I'll fix it, okay?
Yeah.
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 So I'll try to carry a private conversation. I feel for him because he feels like somebody's against him and he's
Mhm.
accusing him when we're not actually doing that.
Mhm.
We're just trying to portray the worshiping, unknowingly worshiping of a day instead of
Yeah.
keeping the
Of a
Sabbath,
false god. Of a false
Yeah,
god. Like, that's not okay. It's not a good place to be. We're not supposed to even have names of days of the week anyway. He said
yeah.
number our days. Our
Yeah,
days
because
are
he was
numbered.
mentioning March, so we're using March, but we're not using March. He's using
Mhm.
March because, yeah, so
Mhm.
the days of the week, he's using the month, he's using all these things. So I'm gonna try to tell him that we're trying to stay away of all this stuff and actually
Mhm.
we found a way not to use any of these pagan things and just to use the sun
Mhm.
in order to measure the beginning of the year. And then he
Mhm.
has questions about the scripture that support that. That's a different thing. We're entering a different conversation. But until you clarified how do you measure without having any knowledge of a pagan thing, that's the basic of everything. It's like if you don't have the days of the week, how do you know? If you don't
Yeah.
have the names of the what is it, Monica? I don't know what it is with this. That doesn't work. No. Here, it works. Sorry. Yeah, so I'll have this conversation with him on
That's
private to
good.
see, so he doesn't feel threatened or accused or
Yeah. Yeah. That would be great. Yeah. I miss
yeah.
them.
I
I
know.
miss them all.
Yeah.
I hate the
I
divide, but I
I
understand it's important.
I know. I know.
I
This is the
understand
hardest
how.
part, to the separation, in doctrine and
Mm,
about when people just don't see it. They don't see eye
mm,
to eye. Anyway,
yeah.
we can still love them and have, normal conversation.
Mhm.
We should still love each other and have normal conversation without the doctrinal disagreements. Sometimes they
Mhm.
come, we get in line later on. But honestly, I'm grateful, guys, that there's other people there who didn't stop in the process, so we don't feel crazy like we're on our own.
Well, that's the
So
thing. It's not. Yeah,
it's
that's great.
it,
It's
it can
great.
feel like a crazy, crazy journey when you have
It is.
questions and nobody really seems to have the same question. I find that, completely that is
Mhm.
discouraging. So God have found a way to give us another group,
Mm,
where we can find other people that can challenge everything and we try to look for reasonable explanation from the word for the
yeah.
natural thing, the way that God created them. It's a crazy
Yeah.
journey. And you find that in this last years, it's been so crazy, ups and downs and ups and downs. It can be saddening
Yeah.
your spirit. When you're sick for something and you don't find the answer, you don't find people, you don't have, it can be discouraging. So
I know.
praise Yahuwah for giving us, like-minded brothers and sisters.
Oh, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I love my family. I've never been so happy. I've been through a lot of congregations, a lot of Zooms, and, they all had their thing to teach me, but I had to keep moving. I had to keep going and I had to keep following the Ruach, and I wasn't gonna,
Yeah, and that's
stay in a place that, they weren't gonna progress.
yeah. God gave me a friend not online, in real life, that she turned to the Lord uh, just probably a few months to our Yahusha before I met her. And she was
Mhm.
so fresh, and talking about people that are like sponges. She is absorbing everything. She's like so full. And
Yeah.
we have this conversation that we have online together and we challenge. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? It's just like sometimes she's asking me questions that I don't have the certainty, but I guess no, there's people that think of this. This is what I believe right now. I don't know. I'm going to believe tomorrow because I keep going back and forth about this subject with myself. But you know what? She keeps up with me, so I'm certain. Sometimes I'm amazed. I have turned to the Lord, to the Lord. I keep saying the Lord, it's just like the way it was in the past. I turned to Yahusha, Messiah, so many years ago, and this girl understands things in such a short time that it took me 20 years. I'm so baffled, it's just like, how in the world is this possible? Not to mention the language. It makes sense to her. All these words that we use, like righteousness, like I don't know, for normal people, these words don't mean anything. They don't get it. And she just gets it. She's like, and she's on to this calendar with me, and we crossed from the previous calendar where I was, to this one. And she just understands it, doesn't put up any like previous preconception, as in front of her, because she doesn't have it. She's building it as we go. And I
Mhm.
find this freshness of the spirit so, I don't know, it amazes me. She doesn't have that stubbornness of, oh, I've been doing this for so long. I've been doing this for so long. I must have known. Sometimes when you talk to people that come to the belief in Yahuwah, that the stumbling block is their own time with Yahuwah. They think they already got it. And that's the stumbling block. And in her, it's refreshing to my spirit, to have somebody in front of me. I hope and I pray that Yahuwah gives every single one of us somebody next to them to do life, like in real life with them. Because she's bringing her kids to my house. We're teaching the kids the same thing. We're doing trips together, me and her and the kids, me and her and the kids, and that's all we do all day long. Chit chatting about the word, what she read, what I read, what's changing, what's like. So it's just comforting to my heart. And I desire this for every single one of us that are so, uh, you know, not conformed to a doctrinal one and stuck there. To have somebody like this. To me, she's challenging me all the time when she's asking me questions that I think I answered to myself for so long. It's like, well, I don't remember that. I have to go back. I have to go study it again. Let's do it together. It's just beautiful. The same thing that I'm doing, when I'm with you guys and everybody, bringing up subjects that we probably never thought of some of these things for a while, and going back in time,
Mhm.
or in the scripture. So she has that freshness we were talking about, the spongeness that I didn't find this in anybody, churchgoers, because ever since I'm in the United States, I've only been through so-called Christians. All our friends Christians, except some of my homeschool groups, when moms are not necessarily Christians.
Mhm.
But most of our friends are like Christians. You can't talk anything with them. I mean, not even the normal things, the lower level things. There's once you open the conversation, oh, it becomes either politicized or superficial or about abortion or about, I mean, no depth. So I'm like, how can you even surpass, that superficial conversation without them feeling, accused? It's very hard. So when they have no contact, or they have had no contact with churchianity for a long time, I found that their logic function in a way that somehow most churchgoers have been stripped of. It's somehow it's like annihilated. to a certain point that there's no real connection there, when you try to talk about the Bible. I don't know if you guys ever try to have a Bible study with any churchgoers. I mean, ever since I came in the United States, I tried to have with so many women. So none of them had time. The idea, none of them had desire, because if they had desire, they would have had time. They all divert. Oh, I got to do that. Oh, I got to do that. No real Bible study unless the church is implementing a Bible study, and that was the only one for them to attend. And it's the same thing at even the people that turn to, to starting the process of coming out of churchianity, it's the same thing. If they think they got it, that they're stumbling block. It's, I got it, I'm good, and I don't need any more. It's like, if you're still looking and you're teachable, you're always going to test it out. As you were saying, you still test it out, you still test it out, you still test it out. But anyway, I'm going to have to go soon because my kids are waiting. I love you guys so much. And yeah, I'll talk to Jason in private, and I'll try to explain without trying to weight my words so I don't offend him or giving him any reason to feel threatened. That it's not the wording at one point, it's the way, they perceive. So we'll see what he says. I just don't have high expectation that things are going to change in the way he believes. He might put it on, oh, we're just getting accused all the time. Because that's what he practically said in some of his commentaries, yeah, that he feels accused for worshiping pagan days, or we'll see. And I'll let you know, guys, if I have any results. Yeah. I love you guys, and I'm really grateful for you. And hopefully, we're getting other people in the group coming out of this stubbornness of Saturday. That's how stiff-necked Saturdays. Yeah.
Yeah, stiff next Saturday.
I don't know how to call it. It's simple, but they can't see it. And when there's no logical explanation, it's spiritual for me. I mean, that's how I've always seen it. There's no logical explanation for why you cannot see it. That means it's spiritual. The door is shut. It has not yet been opened by Yahusha to
Yeah, I would
understand.
agree.
I don't know. Yeah. It takes
Well,
time. Yeah.
yeah. Definitely. Thank you, sister.
No, I didn't do anything. I I I hope I'm gonna be a good help for Jason because I really appreciate him, and honestly, because the Lord used his words for me to see the reality that it's just I have a heart for him, and he was explanation were so, I mean, the train of thought for me was like, man, this guy has such a logic in this. But you see, maybe it was for me. It was the logic that touched my heart, because all the other people didn't get it. They were fighting. Nobody else got it, in that group. So he wasn't working with everybody else. He worked with me. Or maybe people didn't even read his comments. I don't know.
No, you're
Anyway.
right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. We appreciate you, and we love you too here.
Yeah. What happened to Sukkot? Are you guys still doing the Sukkot?
Yeah, we're still doing Sukkot. We're still planning on doing it. I think it's pinned in the chat here as well.
I
If
saw that
anybody else
too.
is interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to look into. I'm not sure I can make my husband do this trip. We'll see. I know we're not quite on the same level of understanding, so but it's okay. It's just you
Yeah,
learn you learn humility and patience, when your people around don't share the same. It happens. You still have to keep going, look for every moment to explain. Might not be received. You wait for the next moment. You wait for the next moment. That's it. Yeah. Praise the Lord for families that share the same understanding. That is so rare, so rare. Amen. And they grow together and they're open to new discoveries in the Word. I mean,
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
and they build each other up, and they don't. It's a beautiful thing.
All praise to the Most High.
Yeah. So Katrina, please don't take it to heart. I know that he doesn't have anything. You're not doing anything wrong. If that's sometimes if you think that you're rough, you're not. I just want to encourage you that to keep going. I mean, your commentaries with other people and your willingness to keep going and explain, even for me, have clarified many things during the years. Just it might not be for the person you talk with, might be for those that are not emotionally involved and read those commentaries.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Are you still there, Katrina?
Oh yeah, what was that?
I was saying, don't take it to heart, like don't be disappointed, don't be disarmed, like because your commentaries really matter. I mean, for me, I learned many things from your commentaries with other people, and
Yeah.
many things have raised questions that you know that send me back to the Word to see when you were explaining some things, you found some things, you discovered new things, and you were posting it or you were talking to other people. So send me back to the Word to see, to reconsider, to adjust. So I was saying that might
Right.
not be for the person you are talking to, but might be for those that are, that are reading the commentaries and not
That's why
involved in
I,
the conversation.
yeah, that's exactly why I do what I do, is because I was one of those people that were reading the conversations diligently, diligently looking for answers. And, that's where the Ruach got me in the comment section, reading other people about Zadok and,
Yeah.
exploring the different options, testing it all out. That's exactly why I might not be able to reach Jason. I don't know what Gina said in the comments. I don't know if,
I haven't even looked yet on
oh, okay.
Facebook, so
But
yeah,
it might not be any of them, but someone's going to be reading that, and that seed is out there for anyone that wants it. So I long for unity, but I understand that division is necessary. So fine,
we can
you
all
know.
be united until we were with Messiah. We're gonna be separated by one little thing or the other. It's just
Well,
He's
we're
gonna bring
getting
us all
there. We're
together.
getting
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
We're getting there. We're getting close. At least, we got this calendar thing that we're really working through, and we got some diligent people that's going to comb through the scriptures, testing every little detail, like Allie,
yeah,
right? Allie, I love Allie's tenacity about like really, digging in and making sure it all fits. I love it.
Praise be to God, right?
Yeah, and of course Marissa too, and Ken's now digging up in the priestly order stuff, and I mean we're all working together, and that's a beautiful thing. That's what he wants. We're a body. I love it.
Absolutely. It's what we should be doing.
I am reading in Jubilees 50.
I can't hear you. Is that just me?
Oh, it's breaking up pretty badly.
Oh, okay. I'm reading in Jubilees 50. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. Jeremy, would you like to share with us how you see that the preparation is bringing it in, but the preparing the food can be done on the Sabbath? Because I'm reading this and I'm not sure I'm seeing it.
Yeah. So one sec. Let me pull it up.
Thank you.
Okay. So it just reset, man. Hold on. Have to get back there again. So where is it? Okay, so Jubilees 50 verses 7 through 9. Well, actually, it's going to be, I'll just read 7 through 9 because that's what I have written down here. So six days you shall labor, but on the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah. In it you shall do no manner of work, and your sons and your male servants and your female servants and all your cattle and sojourner who is also with you. So the word for work here is, secular work, making money, your daily job that you're doing. There's no manner of that work. There's no, working to, hunt and gather, collect things. You should have all your firewood ready. These type of things. And and the man that does work on it shall die. Whoever profanes the day, whoever lies with his wife, or whoever says he shall do whatever on it, that he shall depart on a journey thereon in regard to any buying or selling. And whoever draws water thereon, which he has not prepared for himself on the sixth day, and whoever takes up a burden to carry out of his tent or his house shall die. You shall do no work whatever on the Sabbath, except what you have prepared for yourselves on the sixth day, so as to eat and to drink and rest and guard the Sabbath from all work on that day. So we see there, you shall do no work except for what you have prepared, meaning you have prepared, you've gathered everything, you field dressed your animals, you've gone to the grocery store, you have all your ingredients gathered, and then you are able to cook it. Because back then they didn't have refrigerators, they didn't have stoves, none of these things. So if you cook something the night before, the next day it's going to be cold and stale and would probably go bad. So they would keep the fire going because you can't light up a fire but it's fine to have your firewood gathered and you keep feeding it so it does not go out. Because striking up a fire was very much a lot of work. You know, they didn't have lighters, things like that back then. So as long as you have everything gathered, you have it ready to go, you can throw it on the fire, cook it up, and there it is, ready to eat.
Okay, I think I can see how you can see that. Um,
Yeah,
and now I'm responding to something Ken wrote earlier about going on a journey. But this says, set out on a journey thereon regard to any buying or selling. So therefore, if the first day of the first month, that wasn't his purpose, was to go buy and sell. It was his purpose to get back to Jerusalem to do what the Father gave him to do, then that would be a different intention, right?
yeah, correct. And also, a long journey, you know, packing and supplying it, all these things, it could be very burdensome. And so, like short journeys, things like that, that's fine. Or, you know, you're going to go to a fellowship, like that example in Jerusalem, they wanted to get to Jerusalem. You know, those are fine, but, you know, a journey for work, buying or selling, things like that, it's definitely prohibited. Like you shouldn't do a long, like start your week journey, you know, on a Sabbath day, if that makes sense.
Right. And does it say long in your version? Because it doesn't say long in my version. As far as the journey goes.
Yeah, whoever, hold on, that he that he shall depart on a journey thereon in regard to buying or selling. So in reality, it's actually really not even saying a journey, like a long journey, but it is in regards to any buying or selling.
Right. Which is what the burden was, being, if we compare Jeremiah and Nehemiah, he was rebuking the putting burdens on your asses and
Yeah,
bringing things in to the gates of Jerusalem to sell or
yeah,
buy.
exactly. Jeremiah 17:22. That's actually a verse that solidifies Jubilees as being legitimate.
Yeah, I know people that won't go out of their gates, and they told me that if I read Jubilees, I'll see it there. And I've read Jubilees, and I still haven't seen it there. So,
Yeah, and no, that's the verse a lot of people will use to say, "Oh, look, it says traveling on the Sabbath is wrong," and you know, it's the same one Adam tried to use, but then you know he ended up cropping out the definition and changing that definition. But um, yeah, that's a verse that they try to use to say, "Oh, look, Jubilees isn't legit because it says you can't travel on the Sabbath." Well, actually, looking closer at it, it just says, you know, don't travel in regards to buying or selling.
yeah, I
Yeah.
see too. But I still don't get the.
What don't you get? Are you there?
Oh, yeah, huh. I think that my book hit the microphone and stopped it. Okay. Whoever draws water thereon. Okay. So we have in 8, a man that does any work on it will die. And that's and that kind of work is the kind of work that you make money with, right?
Yeah,
Whoever
correct.
desecrates the day, whoever says he'll do something on it, that he'll set out on a journey thereon in regard to any buying or selling, and whoever draws water thereon which he had not prepared for himself on the 6th day. Okay, 9, you shall do no work whatsoever on the Sabbath day, except to utilize what you have prepared for yourselves on the 6th day, so as to eat and drink and rest and keep the Sabbath from all work on that day. And it goes on, and you are sharing something that's different. I don't know how much they were able to preserve overnight, that they cooked overnight. I mean, that they cooked the day before. I do know, as being a daughter and a wife and a mother, and uh, from the time I was young, I always considered fixing food on the Sabbath as work, maybe because it was my everyday stuff, even if I wasn't, quotes, making money on it. And so, for making the food. And so for me, I liked to be able to rest from fixing food on the Sabbath day. That made it a special day for me when I wasn't doing my common everyday stuff. So I considered it work, even if it's not actually exactly the same definition.
No, but yeah, that's why we see there's an allowance for cooking on the Sabbath. So, back then they didn't have refrigerators or really anything to store cooked food in. So they would just have those raw ingredients, and then when you cook it, it kills all the bad things out anyway. But, and it goes along with, even the priests, they had to do their services and their secular work on the Sabbath day because their secular work was the offerings and sacrifices. And they still had to slaughter the animals, give the offerings, things like that. So that's also another clue. It's fine to do, cooking, things like that on the Sabbath, but you have to have it all prepared before. But that's fine if you believe otherwise, do what you feel led. I just don't see it as a sin to cook on the Sabbath. And just because of, ancient times, again, they didn't have any refrigerators, nothing like that. So you wouldn't have warm food on the Sabbath back then. And it's supposed to be like an enjoyable meal with the Father on his set apart days. Basically a festival day or a feast day, a day of feasting. And you don't want to feast with cold foods, but yeah. And like I said, it's not. I don't think it's an issue to cause arguments or divisions. But if you feel you don't want to cook or shouldn't cook on the Sabbath, then go right ahead. I just feel it's perfectly acceptable to do so, and that's according to Jubilees.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Problem. You worry, Jermaine. You worry when it goes quiet for too long. Sorry, I'm just seeing the chat right now.
Oh, would you like me to share that song here pretty quick?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, whenever you're ready.
I have to figure out where I put my glasses. Maybe I'll just do it kind of bent over. All right. As the sun goes down, let us take the time to worship. Thank Yah for his care throughout the day. His tender love is drawing our hearts to him, revealing his Son and his loving way. As the sun comes up, let us take the time to worship and thank Yah for his care throughout the night. His tender love is drawing our hearts to him, reminding us we're children of the light. Come away with me in the morning and the evening, at the rising and the setting of the sun. Commune with me as I call your heart to worship, and my spirit makes us one. I am the light of the world, Messiah tells us, and he only says what he hears our Father say. Ye are the light of the world, he also tells us, so remember, we are children of the day. So let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for a helmet the hope of salvation, obeying the commands of our Father above. Come away with me in the morning and the evening, at the rising and the setting of the sun. Commune with me as I call your heart to worship, and my spirit makes us one. Commune with me as I call your heart to worship, and my spirit makes us one.
Awesome. Great job, sister. Thank you.
Hallelujah. It's in the set apart music. I just put it in there today. And thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, thank you.
Ellie, I love the lyrics to that song. It's awesome.
Hallelujah. You know, he gave me that so many years ago. He was inviting me to that. And I remember where we were camping, my late husband and I. And I remember what the sun looked like in the sky. Not the sun, but it was going down and the colors. I mean, I remember everything from when he invited me to do that. And I'm just so thankful. And he's so gracious, because sometimes it's real challenging to actually set aside that particular time. But he still calls us and draws us. And now I'm learning that it's the divider time. And it's really, really a special time with him to get prepared for the day ahead or the night ahead. And he made a covenant with the day and with the night. And so these two times, the dawn and the dusk, those are times to renew our covenant with him. It's just really beautiful.
Sometimes I feel like Yah just catches our eye like that. Like something, something catches our eye, and like he speaks to us in our spirit. about it, like this, like the sun catching your eye that day, or like the way something looks, or I was just explaining to Jeremy earlier, like the menorah caught my eye the one day, and I felt like I understood something deeper about it. He plants those seeds in our heart too.
Yeah, it's awesome how he works with us, and he knows each of us and exactly how we process information. And it's not exactly the way other people process information. And it's okay. And that's why he's got so many of us in the body. And we can hear something from one person and it doesn't faze us. But then down the line, they've maybe planted seeds, but down the line, he'll have somebody explain it to us that meets with the way that we think. Like
Yeah.
everybody's way of thinking, it's a gift. And I don't know if anybody's heard of Caroline Leaf, but she shares about how different ones of us process information differently. And it goes through 7 areas of our brains. And some of us are more proficient with the math, and some of us are more proficient with the English or whatever language, and some are more proficient with other things, and so the order it comes through makes a huge difference in how we understand things. Beautiful. And we are all fearfully and wonderfully made, and we're all reflections of his glory in different ways. It's really special.
Absolutely.
I love that line with the children of the light. Like that just, like you just captured my heart with that, Ellie. I loved it.
Hallelujah. I that I remember when he gave that. It's right out of Paul's writings, I think. I don't have, sometimes I'll have the inspiration with the verses and stuff. I don't have that on that one. So I think I've got some homework to do there. And I wanted to say something too. I mean, I appreciate what you're sharing, Marissa, and sometimes it's taking me a little bit of time to get the hang of it. And Katrina made that 3-tier explanation. And it's like, oh, wow. It's like sometimes things will hit our minds and we'll go, oh, yeah. But, I was like, I don't get this. I don't get this. How does this? And then all of a sudden it comes together. He's really awesome to us.
Yeah. Yeah, I needed to see that. I needed to see that. For some reason, it was not clicking, and I was so frustrated because I didn't understand how the equinox could be a divider day. I could not understand it. I still don't think I fully understand it.
So Jeremy, should I show that on video in here?
What?
I just sent you and him this video. It's just like my makeshift explanation for how the sun moves. And you know me, Katrina, in my bathroom with all my... It's better than the ball, I promise. I found something different this time.
Yeah, because I didn't get that one either.
Okay, but it piggybacks off of that. All right, let me turn on the video. Let's see. Okay, so can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so like bear with me because I drew this on a face cloth, okay? Um, so ever since Sean showed me that picture where he drew the menorah and he has the portals in between them, or the gates, whatever you want to call them, it just it's like it hit me like a ton of bricks on how the sun works. And so when I did that presentation on how on the solar cycle alone, the equinox is day 0 because it makes the straight line. It's between gates 3 and 4. So I know like we've all seen those flat earth models where the sun is going around and around like this above the earth. I need you guys to just kind of like toss that out of your head for a second. Now, when you've sat outside and watched the stars, you can tell that the firmament is rotating at an angle. And that is the way that the sun moves too. It rotates at an angle. It's not like spinning around. It's at an angle like this. And so the sun moves across this menorah in the sky. And so I have here a light that is like a dome shape. And so we can see how it's convex here, okay? And so, where's my little pointer? Okay. So, it is like a mirrored menorah, because obviously it's not just a half, right, guys? So, here's our mirrored menorah. All right. So, when we are all trying to witness the straight line, this is how the sun will make a straight line, because if you have that biblical flat earth model of it going around and around, how would it ever make a straight line? It wouldn't. But we know that it does. And so this is how. So on the days leading up to the equinox, the sun rises here and it comes up and over, okay? And it'll start here and it'll come up and over. And that's how at solar noon, you'll get that curve, okay? So again, here we are, the days leading up to the equinox. It starts there, and then it comes over. But on the day of the equinox, the sun rises at 90 degrees east and sets 270 degrees west. The day after, it'll start here, and it'll come around and make the curve in the opposite direction. And so that's how the sun moves, just like the stars, where they move at an angle. And that's how it can make that straight line shadow in the sky. So then, like, when it's extreme, you know, it'll start all the way over here, and it'll come like this. Okay? And so I don't know, where does it go when it goes under the earth? I don't know. I'm not Yah, but what I do know is that on the day of the equinox, the sun travels through the north in order to reach that great gate, which is the 4th on the next day. All right.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that was amazing. It just clicked. Except, yeah, where does it go? I don't know, but I could never figure that out.
Yeah, Katrina, that's what
I
I was
couldn't
trying to
either.
show you with the ball that day with the string. And I'm
I
like, the sun
couldn't
will
get it.
travel in this line. And I kept like shifting it down the ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't
Wait,
get it then. I get it
So
now.
would
You
you mind
ruined a
going through
perfectly
it
good
another
washcloth.
time?
I know.
I'm sorry.
What'd you say, Allie?
Would you mind going through it one more time?
yeah,
No, I don't mind.
yeah. I
Marissa,
have to record this.
maybe you make a video and post it. So if anybody comes with
Oh,
more
I will.
ideas based on your foundation.
I tried, but it was like 4 minutes long. And then I sent it to Jeremy and Katrina in like 30-second parts. So, Katrina, I'm not the one. I'm not tech savvy like that. So,
Well,
and I really wish I had a better visual than a
well,
washcloth, but I couldn't do a paper because the
I have
paper's not going to lay over this dome like that,
right.
you know?
I have a
well,
Yeah,
question
that's amazing.
before you present it again, Marissa, because
What?
maybe when you're doing it again, you could explain. You said the 0 day. I don't have it in front of me. It was between 1 and 6 is on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
And then what's on the top? 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And you said the 0 day is between 3 and 4.
Of the solar cycle.
Okay, what does
All
that
right. So
mean?
there's a wheel within a wheel where like the most outer wheel is the weeks that started at creation. And
Oh,
then the next inner wheel starts on day 4 of creation week, which is the equinox, but it's day 0 of the solar cycle.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. Got it. Okay, I wasn't sure what you were meaning. And then when you were going from like the bottom at 6 and you were showing how the sun will go up, it'll curve and then it'll go straight, is
Yeah.
6 east? That's what I don't know if I'm making myself
Uh,
confused, right? Because it
no,
rises in the east, sets in the west.
east is like a point. It's east is like that point right where the sun starts, okay? Because then it becomes like either like south east southeast or east northeast. I don't, on a
Oh,
compass.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, all right. Let me see. This is not super technical, but we're gonna go with it. Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna redo this one more time. Um, Everybody has been taught that on a biblical flat earth that the sun goes around and around. Okay, we've all seen those flat earth models that do that. And now I need you to erase that from your head because this will never make a straight line. And that's why people who believe in flat earth get laughed at, because how would that ever make a straight line? It wouldn't. However, the sun doesn't move like that. If you have ever watched the stars in the sky, you've seen that they actually rise and set at an angle like this. And so the sun travels also at an angle, except for on the equinoxes. Okay, so above the earth is a menorah in which the sun's path travels through. And so we see on this diagram here our 7-branch menorah, and the portals or the gates are in between the branches. The most important thing to note is that we have portal 3 and portal 4, and the straight line goes right in between that. And so I believe that the solar cycle, the 0 day on the solar cycle alone is the equinox day, which is Enoch 72:5. The sun travels through the north in order to reach the east back to the 4th portal. I'm paraphrasing. But, all right, so we're going to put the menorah on a dome here so we can see how it's convex and it comes down. And the north is in the middle here. And so when we are tracking the shadow on the day leading up to the equinox, the sun will rise about here and it'll travel like this, okay? Now, above the earth, it's obviously not just half the earth. This is a mirrored menorah. And so on the day leading up to the equinox, the sun will start here and it'll travel and make that curved shadow and then go down. And so where does the sun go once it goes down? I can't tell you, only Yah knows, but this is what we're visualizing of it coming up, and it makes that curve and goes down. And then on the day of the equinox, the sun rises at 90 degrees east and sets at exactly 270 degrees west, which is what makes our straight line. And then the day after, the sun will start here on the opposite side of the line, and it'll rise And right at solar noon is really where you're going to see that curve in this line, right? So it starts curving in the opposite direction. And everybody can witness this, the way that the sun will curve throughout the year. And that's why on the solstices specifically, you'll see the most curve that there's going to be. So we're on the summer solstice. Now the sun has risen over here, and it has traveled away and around and down. And then when we're at winter, it's going to just be in the opposite direction, where it starts here and it travels around and down. And so that is how the sun travels above our earth and how we get our straight line shadow. And the stars are a witness to the direction that the sun travels, because the dome rotates at an angle.
Wow. Is that why they say that the earth has a 23-degree slant or something? I mean, I don't,
Probably.
the ball earth. Yeah, okay.
Marissa, how will that explain the very long days during the summer? Because just because when it crosses around the arc of the dome, it goes on a straight line. It makes more light towards the North Pole, and the days are longer there. Because, for instance, in Northern Europe, it's just the sun goes down during the summer, sometimes at the 10:30 at night. It's light.
Yeah, I think
So
that the sun is traveling that further away. And so I don't know, because I'm not in Antarctica.
no, not Antarctica. I mean, I'm not talking about
Alaska.
the most people, yeah, will when the sun rotates in a circular on the dome, they would explain it's closer to the Tropic of, I think, Cancer. Or, yeah, it's closer when it rotates on that tropic. Yeah, it's how do you say? It includes the North Pole in its light, so it beams only towards the outside. But that's how the light stays on for such a long time, periods of time.
Right.
But in this case, when the sun, it goes straight as an arc,
Mm-hmm.
a circle above the dome, yeah? Like, I don't know how will that make it, maybe it's traveling faster from the extremity to the center, and it stays
Yeah.
longer in the center. Maybe that would be another, just to encompass 12 days, 12 hours during the day. I don't know how to say, because if it starts going sideways and they're crossing on the other side, that will
Right.
take, it's a slower movement.
Yeah,
I'm
that's how the days
assuming,
are longer. So you're talking about when the days are
yeah.
shorter.
No, I was talking about the day when the days are longer towards the middle of the earth. For instance, like north, like Paris, like England, those parts of the earth, the days are, I mean, right now I'm in California, days are not so long here as they are there.
Yeah.
So and they're never going to get this long here as they get there.
Right.
Like, as I'm originally from Europe, so I know that there's like, it's light till 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night at times,
Right.
So
Well,
here, that
it's
never happens as long as there. Regardless if we're in the same, as deep as we are in during the summer. So
when
there
I
must
lived
be
up in
something different. Yeah.
Idaho, it was the same. I mean, and it would go down. It would be light, 10:30, and then it'd start getting light again at like 4:30 in the morning. So I think it has to do with how close we are to the North Pole, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Here in California, it's never, sunny or sunny, like daylight that late, regardless how close we are to the middle of the summer. It's never going to be that long. But in Europe, it's like, wow, it's 10:30 at night. It's still light outside in the, closer to the summer solstice or even after that, Like this time right now, it's light sometimes up until 11 o'clock at night. So I don't know how that would be. So some things to think about for us, but yeah, this might make sense what you're saying. If the speed of it's adjusting, the speed of the sun is it's adjusting in order to surpass in the 12 hours, this less distance or small distance. Because if you cross like at a solstice from one side to the other, obviously it's shorter distance than when you start and you make like I don't want to use this, like the yin and yang sign. Maybe that's why that sign symbolizes, I don't know what it means. It crosses because that's how it looks like. It turns through the middle,
I
like next.
and like I caught that when I was like doing the video for Jeremy. But I need to think about that a little bit more. But it's just, I think it's something that just like that aspect Yah didn't reveal to me yet. But I know that middle, it works like that. So, but it's like the extreme poles. I gotta think about it a little bit more.
Yeah, but what you did is amazing. This is just great. Thank you.
Thank you for going over it again, Marissa. Appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, Marissa, I missed some of that. We were on a walk with our kids. Could I could I have you re-explain that to me on another time? Like re-show me the visual and everything?
So we're gonna record
Yeah.
it too. So we're gonna record that snippet, and then we're gonna blast that.
Gotcha. Okay, because it looked so
But
interesting. I
yeah.
just couldn't hear very well, and I so badly wanted to hear the explanation.
Yeah, it's recording. Yep, it's definitely recording. Yeah, no, thanks for that explanation, sister. That was great.
So that's the equator then. That straight line. It goes across. Interesting, right? Is that it? That straight line in the middle? Or no?
Good.
And it's
Yeah.
the mirrored menorah that kind of makes like that bullseye looking thing.
Are you there, Marissa?
I would say yeah. Like that straight line is the equator. So I know that this like kind of defies how we're taught about it, and but otherwise, the way that we're taught about it, the sun could never make a straight line. So it's just definitely something to think about. Very plausible that what we've been taught is not the whole truth.
Wow, what a concept.
Yeah, I thought of it the one day, Ellie. That's what I was saying. Where like the menorah just caught my eye the one day, and it not like I saw it melt, but I saw it bend like that, and I'm like, oh, that's how that straight line's right in the middle, right there. That makes sense. So
That's so neat. I'm glad that he's got different ones of us with different with our minds working different ways so that we could all come together on this thing. Reveals different things to different people, and if we're not having a rebellious spirit where we have to be right, we can learn an awful lot from each other.
Yeah. I got to wrap my head around like how in Alaska you can see the sun for that long. I don't know. I don't know if it's about like the height. So like when we've looked at the analemma, that's talking about the altitude of the sun. So it could have something to do with the height of it there.
Alaska? Or are you talking about Antarctica, like the 24-hour sun?
Yeah. Isn't that is that Alaska or Antarctica?
I thought that
I
was
thought that was
Antarctica.
up in the Arctic. I thought that was
Oh,
up
we're
in
all
the
getting
Arctic,
different.
and you can see it in Alaska, and you can see it up in Sweden and Norway, and but I don't know. I could be mistaken
Now,
here.
the 24-hour sun, wouldn't that just literally be so after the sun is making its course through all the gates throughout the year, it literally basically has to kind of like pause. And during that pause, wouldn't that take more than just, 12 hours so you would have a 24-hour sun? Do you know what I mean? Like, kind of like a yo-yo, like it when you release it and it gets down, it has to have time to go back up. Does that make sense?
Nope. You're
Yeah.
gonna have to explain it a little different.
Um, okay. I don't know if I know how. um, um, kind of okay, like a roller coaster. Think of like a roller coaster. One that goes frontwards and then like I don't know if anybody's been to Six Flags on Mr. Freeze, but like it's a roller coaster that goes like really, really fast and then goes up a straight and then literally goes back down and goes in the way you came, just the opposite direction. Now I'm not saying that the sun does that obviously because it just resets in the fourth gate to bring in the new year. But what I'm saying is there is a pause because it doesn't just start at gate 1, right? The new year starts at gate 4. So it has to go 4, 5, 6, and then back 6, 5,
Yeah.
4, 3,
Four,
2,
five,
1.
6, 6, 5, 4.
Yeah. So there is a pause. Like it, is that, did I explain that any better? I see it in my head.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that kind of be like would that help describe the 24-hour sun?
I think so.
Oh, well, while people are thinking about that, I just did 24-hour sun, and it says that it's seen in Alaska, and it says it's seen in Antarctica. So during the
So the north
summertime.
north and the south south. So literally when when it's going in between the gates for each major season, which would be spring and no, summer and winter, right? Or fall and autumn, or fall and
Yeah.
spring.
Yeah. Well, we all have something to think about for the rest of the day. How does the sun work?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cause crickets to happen. I was.
No, no, I just feel like everybody's thinking about this and, crunching the idea in their head.
Well, because like for, Robbie Davidson, he was a huge flat earther for the longest time. And then people went to Antarctica and then he was like, oh, I'm wrong. The earth is a globe now. And everyone's like, what? Like the 24-hour sun is what caused you to just throw away everything else? So that's just kind of my thinking is like there is a good explanation for all that. We just don't understand it 100% yet.
Yeah, I think there's just something that, like, we're not seeing about this. quite yet, but we will.
I agree.
Because I feel like that straight line would have to be in the middle for everybody to be able to witness that on the same day.
Yeah, from opposite sides.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the middle of that, how I was explaining it, makes sense. It's just like when it gets to the extreme poles, it's what is the sun doing? It's a really good question.
Does it have a leader too? I know that the stars have leaders on the division days of spring, summer, fall, and winter. Does the sun have a leader?
The sun is the leader.
Yeah, the sun
Yeah,
is the leader.
because
Okay.
he's the first one to go through the fourth great gate.
Yeah, exactly.
I really love you guys. I'm so glad that the Father brought us all together here.
Yeah, praise you.
Actually that was kind of interesting. I just thought of how in Enoch it says that there's two sons. Does anybody know anything about that? Two
Yeah,
names?
something in Thomas, I think. I'll have to look
Yeah,
it up.
it talks about that there's 2 names for the sun and 4 names for the moon. But I never really understood why that is.
You guys ever see that? I think it's the NASA logo, where it has like those, I don't know what to call them, um, like rings around it at an angle.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I think, I think that's what it is. Jeremy, you know if it's the NASA logo?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Well, I
All
know the
right.
now. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of. Like, what if I don't know? Like, what? What if there's like two suns going in the opposite directions? You know, like how I was explaining it. Because like if it's making a curve like that, it's not only like lighting up half the world. What about the other half of the world when it's um, when it's like going all the way towards the right or to the left in my diagram? Like, so what about that? So I don't know. Like, do they kind of shoot out at the same time and encompass the whole world and then go down? I don't know. Just an idea.
Well, I know Hitler did some research on the black hole or the black sun, and I mean, but I don't know how far that gets into like a cult or what he discovered in Antarctica.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they talk about the black sun a lot.
Because
Very
then they like
interesting.
to use that reference of, as above, so below. And like the plane that we're on, Vibes from Cosmos kind of goes into that. And I never really knew what to make of it. I try to not take everything so literally, but um, basically describes this realm as kind of like being like a CD or DVD disc. And we see like the hologram, like inverted of what's actually below us. And so like I don't know, again, like that's all gets very confusing, and I have no idea how to explain it, but that the black sun is in the bottom part. Jeremy, have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Lives of Cosmos.
Yeah.
Well, this is interesting. This on 72. The suffer of the revolutions of the luminaries of name commence their progress and their respective months with Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, explained to me, he who conducted them. The whole account of them, according to every year of the world forever, and first the sun and the light arrive at the gates of heaven, which are in the east, and on the west of it, at the western gate. I beheld the gates whence the sun, thinking about how, or verse 6, luminary, which is called the sun, the orb of which is as the orb of heaven, the whole of it being replete and splendid and flaming fire. Its chariot where it ascends blows. The sun and the wind and the light and all tied together. And the sun sets in heaven and returning by the north proceeds toward the east and is conducted so as to enter by that gate and illuminate the face of heaven. So the whole purpose for the sun is not necessarily to illuminate the face of the earth. Anyway, I'm sorry. I've been reading this and my brain is just going with all this stuff. And I'm trying to find the one where the sun has two names. And I think it's like, okay, 75 talks about the leaders of the chiefs of the thousands over all creation and over all the stars. And the 4 days are the division days. Okay, the names of the sun, this is 78:1. The names of the sun are these: one Arieris and the other Thomas. So I wonder what we could learn by finding out the meanings of those words. Anyway, that's enough for me for now. Thank you.
No, I think you're right. Getting to the meanings.
So is that Thomas? Is that we don't know if it's a Tav or a Tet. The M is sure to be a Mem or Mayim, and we don't know with the S whether it's a Sheen or a what's the other one? Anyway, whoever's got a handle on those ancient Hebrew word pictures, I'm having a hard time bringing them exactly to memory, but I think we could learn a lot by comparing, and if we could find where these come from, that would really be a blessing too, and just look at the pictures and see what they mean.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, now it's a good idea to take it back to the original language.
If I remember right, it doesn't tell anything more about the two names for the sun. And I wonder if one of it's for the first part of the year and the other's for the second part of the year.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely a lot of interesting stuff to think about for sure.
I told my brother, we're going into an adventure now that we know that our Savior referred to more books as scriptures than we thought in the first, in the Old Testament.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, that's the thing too, is it was rabbis in the first century, like Rabbi Akiba, they removed these books from the canon. And so the people who say, oh, you're adding to his word by reading these apocryphal books, well, actually, that's incorrect. Because if they were already part of the canon, then removed, it's actually them removing his word, and we're just reading what was already there in the first place.
Yep, and he says not to add to or diminish from his words.
Yeah, and we know the rabbis do both. Yeah, I made a post the other day on my Facebook about that, actually, about Rabbi Akiba and the other rabbis of the first century who removed the books. And it's just because I see far too many going around saying, oh, don't read Enoch, it's dangerous. Don't read Jubilees, it's contradictory. The apocryphal books, just leave them alone. They were taken out for a reason. Like, just things like that. And it's like, yeah, I don't think you understand the reason why they were taken out. And it wasn't because they were bad. It's because, one, they proved Messiah, and two, they proved the calendar. So literally, that's the two reasons why most of the apocryphal books were taken out. And people just don't like that, and it's unfortunate, really.
And if these poor people hadn't been so hung up on Saturday as the Sabbath on the Zadok calendars, they might have got me more seriously looking into it a long time ago.
Yeah, precisely. That's the thing too. And, we could say the same about Erin, who's known this method for a while, but her fruit is just so rotten. And when you ask her questions, you know she doesn't answer. So yeah, it's worked both sides basically. The ones who know Saturday is not always a Sabbath. They see the Zadok calendar people pushing and holding on to the Saturday Sabbath, and then well, now that we're here, though, we've changed, but the only ones that would exist showing the true method were people like Aaron Ryan and Nick Vanderlee. And Nick is especially, prideful and arrogant, and it just turns people away, and they don't realize this. So I think we're one of the only groups that actually come together to study these things out, and we test all these things, and it's proof just by all the confirmations we found here, and all praise to the Most High.
Isn't it something, when they're trying, like, you're right. Like, when I try to discuss anything with Nick, he attacks my character. Like, he attacks me personally, and then he started bashing you. Oh, you chose Jeremy. And I'm like, what? What? I chose Yahuwah. Like, I didn't choose you. Like, I was just like, what do you mean choosing? Like, just, all I did was quote you scripture for, like, because I quoted him the cycles of what Marissa wrote up. I just threw it down on one of his things, and he was so mean to me. Jermaine is my witness there, because she came in, and Jeremy, yeah, and it's like, oh man, like I know how not to act because of Aaron, and because of people like Nick, and that's pride, like, and that's not being helpful, and not at least, like, when someone asks a question, I'm going to be giving you, like, or says something, I'm going to give the opposite. Like, I would still want a dialogue, right? Because I did the study. Let's prove it all out. Let's iron sharpen iron. But you can't communicate with people like that because they get personal. Personal.
Yeah, like
And they start to
like you.
discredit you. Ugh.
Yeah,
Ugh.
it's true. That. Yeah, I wasn't even part of that
Like, if someone ever
conversation.
told me, like, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say he was calling me a loser and everything. I wasn't even part of that conversation. And it's like,
Right, I didn't even mention your name.
and that's how bad it is. And that's what we try to avoid doing because, we have to be humble and willing to learn and willing to admit when we're wrong. Not just take it to a personal level and start name calling and stuff because you can't answer a question. That's not right.
And then those of us who are searching and we see that kind of fruit, then we're tested with the, yeah, that's what and say can't because look those are out that me what they're blended on the way they're acting. That sometimes we tend to do that.
Yeah. No,
Or Katrina, how about when I sent him stuff and he responded to me, he goes, "Show my article to your husband." And that was it. He didn't reply to anything that I said. It was just show my article to your husband.
yeah, and that's kind of
He
the
has a
fruit.
big problem with women.
Yep, 100%.
Oh, it's true, and it's really sad. And that's the type of fruit that turns people away. They make people not want to look into truth.
Which is why I love our group so much, because we have a dialogue going. There's no, Jeremy kind of holds it all together and brings in the meat of it, but we are a group effort. We stand on a group effort. Everyone has something to bring to the table, and that's just the way it's supposed to be. No, and if there's a problem, we discuss it. Boom. I
Yeah,
love it.
that's how it should be, honestly.
I was just thinking about that. Like, where did Gina, like, way before, like, Wayne and Gina, like, where was their group at? Nobody was coming together then, right? Nobody was really getting into like a Zadok gathering really at all.
We had
So
tried
I'm
it. Yeah.
with
That was
Gina, yeah, we started to with Gina when she started to come out with her stuff. Like, yeah, let's start meetings, you know. But then when
Hasn't
Marissa,
Jackson Snyder been doing that for a long time with Vero Yahad?
oh yeah, Jackson, yeah, but I just couldn't. I couldn't fully get into his stuff for some reason. I think,
The
yeah, I think
meetings that some people were
I
getting
got a.
together
Oh, sorry.
on the Zadok for a long time, and you might not have been familiar with them.
Yeah.
That's how my mind's processing what you were saying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I did join his groups a little bit, but I got into it. Go figure. On certain topics. And when he started to bring in like these really weird topics, I was just like, I don't know. This is Gnostic. And I kind of got scared. I think that ended that.
Any topic.
I forget. It was like, Jeremy, do you remember? It was like really Gnostic teaching. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly either. I do know we watched him for quite some time, but he has that view where after Sukkot you just don't even worry about it anymore. Just wait till the Takufa comes around and start it on that following Wednesday. That's what I remember.
Well, that may be changing.
Yeah, praise you.
I pray. I don't know. From what I gathered, I don't think he's about to change that anywhere near soon. No. He got a lot of pushback, Ellie. He got a lot of influence. And I mean, he did say, take a few steps back, but he pushed our fourth teaching back a ways. So, he's kind of waiting until the storm kind of passes over a little bit.
And the Spirit may be leading him to do that. Give people
Yeah.
time to settle down.
Look at it. Go back. Listen to it a few times. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Even Robert Villa was in our group with Gina, remember?
Yeah. Yeah. He was quiet. Very quiet.
He used to never say a word. And now all of a sudden he's like the voice of prophecy line and gospel worth dying for, things like that. Really the same thing.
Yeah. I love him. I went to him privately a couple times for help, and I did. He was a good brother then. Yeah. Now
I
it's
don't
just.
know what.
Yeah.
Yeah. He seemed to
I
be,
don't know.
willing. And all of a sudden we're like, look, Saturday's not always the Sabbath. And he's like, oh, how dare you guys. He just became, vile towards us.
Rage. Yeah.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, he was fellowshipping with people who understood this calendar for years.
Like Davidson and Ed. Yeah. Yeah. How weird was that?
Yeah, he's all good with them, but then us, he's like vile towards. He's like, oh, what? You're gonna follow their method, and you're gonna think the millennial reign's already passed, things like that. And yeah,
Wow, I didn't even
I
think
just think,
about it like that.
yeah,
I didn't even think about it. He doesn't get up in Davidson's grill. He doesn't get up on, it's just us. Wow. I didn't even think about that.
He didn't. He said nothing to Davidson. Like for years, he's been part of their fellowship. Says nothing. But as soon as we do it, he's trying to jump all over us and ask those Pharisee questions that we've answered hundreds of times. But yeah,
Thank you
how
all.
we can. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I think I'll have to tell you all good night. Sure
Lisa,
Yeah,
appreciate the time.
Lisa, are you there?
I'm here.
I just saw your post on Facebook. You said summer solstice. So I think the summer solstice is on Friday.
Oh, snap.
It
Did I screw
it
that up?
is. It is on Friday. The summer solstice. Today's the Takufa. Today's the Takufa.
Oh,
I
I
know
thought they were.
they should be on the same day, but for some reason they're off. Like all
Huh.
the yeah, it's weird. But yeah, I would go in and because someone jumped in.
Yeah, my girlfriend's staff. I saw her. Um.
that's what
Oh well, maybe it'll
Ken
open the
was
door.
talking.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh no, sorry. No, Ken was talking about that earlier. How they're not quite on, and he was saying Yahuwah designed it that way because we don't worship the sun, things like that.
Ah, I think I missed that.
We,
That might have
we
been. Sorry,
yeah, it
I
was
was
in.
in and out.
Yeah,
Well,
no
who
worries.
knows? Maybe it'll lead to a conversation, and I'll say, "Oops, you're right. It's tomorrow." But here's the calendar we're following anyway. You're right. It's the Tukufa. Okay, thank you, Katrina, for pointing that out. That's because
Yeah, I would say that I would change it and just say, yes, today's the divider, or today's the day one. Well, people won't understand that if you're trying to.
I know. I'll have to talk to
You
her.
can't
It's the
say
road.
Takufa because people will be like, "Bless you."
That's right. I should say, I'm sorry. Today's the Tukufa. You're right. Tomorrow is the summer solstice. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Today is a Noah ordained festival because he ordained the four heads of the months.
Okay. Summer solstice. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Absolutely.
That's why I never post anything because I feel like I'm wrong all the time.
No,
I'll get
that's
there.
okay. You're learning. You're learning.
Yeah.
I'm just being there to just
Yeah.
make
No,
sure you're.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, okay, let me change this.
No, but thank you for joining, Ellie. I know you said you were going to bed. So.
No, I said good night. I've got another call coming up, and somebody had called me, so I was calling him back, and it looks like you're still on, so I thought I'd come back on.
How is it going with the other groups?
It's coming along
How,
bit by bit.
what are you doing? You're just kind of chiming in and asking questions. What's your approach?
Well, with the Jubilees one, we're reading it, and people are talking about it, and I'm sharing things like, well, that new moon, that word is Chodesh, and it actually means renewal, and things like that. And then I listen to people who aren't quite ready for it, and other people who are ready for it, and I'm just asking the Father wisdom. One of the ladies, I'll be sharing the presentations with her that we made, and the first one I'll share with her is the third one, because she heard me give that presentation 15 years ago, when I didn't understand this calendar, and now she'll see the changes, and we'll see how it comes together. I keep praying.
That's
No, that's
fabulous.
great. Just a little bit at a time. Sometimes it's all we can do.
But you're like talking to people, right? It's not like through chat, like
Oh, no,
through.
I'm talking to people
See, that
on
that really
calls.
helps because, like when I read the thing that I was sending to, I don't know, one of them, and I think Marissa said, or maybe Rachel or Marissa or someone that I read it to said that sounded much better when you read it than having someone else read it with a different kind of tone. You know what I mean? So that's why it's a little bit harder for us that are going through the social media, because they don't get the tone.
Right. And I don't, the Father didn't give me to do the social media thing. I've got plenty on my plate with calls. And another one. She came on last. I have another call on Sunday mornings, and one of the ladies came on last week, a few days ago. I invited her, and she's like, "Oh yeah." So we'll see how the Father works that one out. She's asking intelligent questions, and it's a beautiful thing. And I was able to send her some of these. She was really interested when I talked to her last, before our call, and I sent her all 3 presentations, and Katrina, you and Jeremy, and then Marissa and Jeremy, and then mine, and oh, she is so pleased with them. She's answering, and one of the things that I'm so pleased with is Marissa's sharing about where Spica is, because my full moon, new moon brethren say that, we'll see, Spica, or the branch, or Abib, they called that star Abib at some point in time, that's in the heavens during, I think, the April or May full moon, and that Marissa brings up where it is in at Passover. It's just so beautiful. So now I have an answer for them, how Spica works out with this calendar.
Actually, someone on Jackson's Cider video commented about that too. They were like, "Wow, you got Spica there. I love it." So yeah, that's a real hard piece of evidence. Yeah, amazing job, Marissa. I don't know if you're listening, but I see you there.
I am. All praise to the Most High.
Hallelujah. He's the one that lights these things up and brings our mind to him and everything.
Absolutely.
I feel like things will just dawn on me. It's not like when I'm sitting there trying to like crunch numbers or look at patterns or whatever. Like the most like amazing revelations, he just dawns on me, honestly.
Yeah, I love how he works with you. It comes out of nowhere when you least expect it, but when it's so needed, just like today.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. All of us come in. Ken was doing some really good work with the Prissy courses, figuring all that out too. Yeah, all of us have a piece of that puzzle. We all need to come together about it. Yeah, like that. Sumi.
And just like the scriptures say, out of the mouth of babes, even though we are aged in years of living, but we are new to these understandings, so that would class us as being a babe. There's that innocence, there's that new learning, and then you have your people who've been doing this for so long, and they're going, but you're just new to this, you know nothing. But the scriptures say, even though he was talking about children, but we are to be babes. Yeah. So I was thinking about that this morning as I was driving along and listening, and he pops that into my head. It's out of the mouth of babes. Marissa's new to this, but he's giving, wisdom and knowledge because she is humble and willing, and not sort of standing on a pedestal saying, "Oh, I know this and I know that." So yeah, that was my little revelation this morning.
Yeah. No, that's true. And there's too many people that want to say, "Oh, you're new to this. You don't know anything." And interesting enough, that's one of the questions Robert Villa keeps trying to ask is, "Oh, how long have you been doing this method?" Well, the funny thing is the method he's been doing just as long as we've been doing this one. So, it's not about how long someone's been studying something out. It's just about are you truly seeking the truth and how much the Father is going to show you about a subject. That's really the important part.
I think your heart needs to be in the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Because if it's not, he's not going to show you anything, which, we could see with some people.
Yeah, it's just like book after, you know, watching all kinds of videos or, putting numbers down or trying to calculate it or whatever, and they exhaust themselves. And that's not where, I mean, I've done that too, and that's just never, all, all the fruit that really bared was to show me what isn't, but it didn't show me what is. It's Yah that showed me what is. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't figure it out what is. He just put it there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like for all the moon cycles and everything that I put together, it just showed me that wasn't it. That's not the determiner. That's all it did, but it didn't show me what is, you know?
Precisely. And that actually reminds me. So when so a while ago, me and Katrina got on, Covenant Calendar Club's meeting, and they were just bashing and trashing Zadok. They were very, vile in their responses. Any question that came up about their theology that they had, they just got really angry and upset about it. So I had emailed them. It was before I had it on the link, but my write-up that I have, my article, and I'd sent it to them, and there's been no reply. And then it was yesterday I got an email from them, and they were saying, "Oh, well, you promised to reply to us," and like all kinds of weird stuff. And so I was writing out a response to them this morning before we got on. I was still writing it out when we got on, but basically I was telling them, first of all, I don't make oaths or promises. So saying I made a promise is you bearing a false witness, because I don't make promises that I'm going to do something. I haven't done that for years, because that's making an oath. We're not supposed to do that. And then I proceeded to go on to, break down what they claim line by line, verse by verse, starting with, you know, they reject Enoch, Jubilees, they reject the Apocrypha, anything that's not part of the 66 books, they're not going to even consider or look at. So I went into great detail about the rabbis of the first century, especially Rabbi Akiva, and how they removed these books, they set the canon. And then I went on to, showing how 1 Samuel absolutely proves the Zadok calendar, because they were trying to use that to say proves their calendar. So I took that, walked it slowly through scriptures, proving this only works on the Zadok calendar. And then I got into, the death, burial, and resurrection of Messiah also proves the Zadok calendar. And I went into how, because, they're claiming, oh, he has to be the Passover lamb. And, Passover happens on the night just before Sabbath, and, all kinds of strange things. So I basically went into a very detailed letter in response to them just obliterating what their claims are through scriptures. And it's very strange because, I was waiting for them to email me back. They never did. Then out of the blue, they're like, oh, you were supposed to email us back. And I was like, well, I had already sent all this information. I was waiting for your guys' response. Never happened until now. So still working on that response. I'm almost finished with it, but I wanted to go over it with Katrina before I send it to. But I just thought it was very strange, the timing of it. We've actually found out a whole lot more information since that call. So we have even more to prove, their method does not work.
I think it's easier for me to learn than all the people that have to unlearn.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't know if anybody else has heard of, the Covenant Calendar Club, they call themselves.
Oh, yeah, there's two of them. One of them
Yeah,
is out of Torah to the Tribes. The other one started with Torah to the Tribes, but they had a difference and wound up separating.
yeah. It's the older gentleman and the older woman.
Yeah, so they call theirs the original covenant calendar.
Ah, that's where they got. I see now. Now it's all making sense. Because that's Torah the Tribes calendar. And that's how, because, they didn't go off Zadok. Torah the Tribes doesn't go off Zadok. But strangely enough, they know Chodesh is mistranslated into New Moon. Interesting. Yeah.
Right,
Oh,
'cause
makes
they don't use the moon at all.
yeah. Which we know also isn't right. The moon does have a purpose and it is a witness.
Their way of expressing things, for me, it was oppressive. And it was like throwing too much at something. And anytime I would try to show her something, she would say, "Oh, well, make a diagram of it." And I tried to show her certain things of what she was doing wasn't working. Didn't work with the scriptures. Well, make a diagram of it. And I didn't know how to make diagrams at that point. I had made diagrams before, but it didn't seem to me that in spirit there's going to be any kind of connection, that it was going to be just rubbing up against this is the way it is, and this is the way I see it, and it won't matter what you say, I'm going to see it this way, and you prove that you're right, and then I'll look at it instead of reasoning and trying to share. It was just kind of challenging.
Exactly. That's the same that we got from them. We'd have questions and they'd be like, well, do you have a diagram or something explaining this? I'm like, actually, yeah, I do. And then, yeah, that's what they kept doing. And then when I catch them on the spot, asking them these tough questions through scripture, they just get really upset and they're like, well, you need you need to have this special understanding to see it the way we do. And I'm like, oh, so now you need just a special understanding, and now you have this understanding no one else can, and you're just better than everybody else. And they were
Like
just
the
bad.
days of the Sabbaths,
Yeah, yeah. And they were
and
just,
trying to follow that all the way through uh, the Torah, and I'm just like, but that doesn't work. That's an assumption, you know.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, like Joshua, they were trying to, form this calendar out of the book of Joshua. And I'm like, that's a complete assumption. None of these dates that you're giving are actually in there. You're isolating a verse and then saying, well, it has to be this day of the week and it has to be this day of the month because, that's the only way it lines up. Even though the text says none of that, they're just like, oh yeah, it's in there. You have to have this special understanding to see it. And I was like, no, 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 no.
You have to partake of the spirit that's on us, and you have to take our word for it.
That's exactly what it was. And every other word out of their mouth was just bashing and trashing Zadok and the sons of Zadok. And Katrina, as soon as they allowed them
That's
to go
sad.
on, yeah. But like they wouldn't allow anybody to speak or ask questions or nothing. And then at the end, they allowed people to speak. And that's when Katrina went off on them. She was just like, first of all, that was the worst presentation I've ever seen.
I did. I did. I did because
Yeah,
it was horrible. I
Oh
was
my.
coming out of my skin. I was ready to go in there and be like, nope, not today. Not today. Uh-uh.
yeah.
So
And
funny. Sorry for laughing.
no,
You know me. Ugh, I just, Gina Sparks just posted a comment back to me because she was laughing at me in the comments. Like she put like the face laugh to something that I said, and I gave her a verse like, laugh now, cry later kind of thing. But it was like a verse. But
yeah,
and she responded back with Proverbs 17:15. He who justifies the wicked and he that condemns the just, even both are an abomination to Yahweh. And I'm thinking of this verse. Well, I'm not justifying any wicked. I'm trying to right the wrong here. I'm not trying to use author's insertions. I'm trying to, walk the straight and narrow and make sure that I'm looking at the scrolls instead. I'm not going into other books. So I'm not gonna, you know, justify
no,
what she's doing.
He that answereth a matter before he heareth it, it is a folly and a shame unto him. And that's what's going on there. They're not really listening. So they can't hear it and they can't examine it. Because you've explained that, well, there's been insertions. You've explained that there is a tendency to translate according to the moon, which isn't actually in there. And the whole thing with the Duke or Duca, they're not paying any attention, because if they were listening and not answering before they actually heard and considered it, they couldn't say these things.
exactly.
You're right. You're right. But like Robert, he won't even check his private messages. He he just won't do it.
And you can see that it's just a deflection because, they still, in that comment thread on their YouTube video, they haven't answered or addressed the very first question I asked. And my second comment under there has nothing under it because they can't even reply to that one. But I literally asked them for book, line, and chapter, cave, and scroll number of where it says the moon and the priestly cycles determine a year. I was
Good.
told, yeah, no, I was told you should go read them. It's in there.
And then Robert asks Marissa a question, and Robert goes, and she didn't answer it right away, and he kept going, you can't answer my question. You can't answer my question. I'm like, yeah, but you just did the same thing. Well, she did answer your question. It's not that she didn't. You just didn't like her answer. There's something wrong with your question, Robert. It wasn't.
Yeah,
It was.
he wanted a specific date, but it's like, bro, just look it up. It's not that hard. And then I ended up saying to him, I just looked. I go, I'll send the dates to you amongst the other information I sent to you in February. He never said anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really thankful that we have the opportunity to be tested.
Yeah.
And that we can ask our Abba for the kind of response that he wants us to have instead of sometimes our initial response, which is like, yeah, right, guy,
Right. Guys, does anybody have their shofars? I haven't heard any shofar blasts today.
I was going to do it earlier, but didn't get around to it, and then I left it at home. I'm coming to visit my youngest here in Boonville, or I would have thought to bring it.
My daughter lost mine somewhere, but
no.
I know that proclaiming with your mouth still works. So, Hallelujah! Not gonna lose my voice,
right? I got my husband's shofar. It's like the biggest one we could get, this ram's horn, and I just figured out how to play this thing after all this
Doing a lot of that lately, Marissa.
Hallelujah.
All right.
Doing a lot of learning. Nice. Good job. You pick stuff up real fast, sister.
All for
Very,
Yah.
very impressed.
All for Yah, and all for our fellowship too. I'm so inspired and just I can't wait for Sukkot. It's gonna be so awesome.
Praise Yahuwah.
Seriously. Yep.
I agree. It's gonna be awesome.
Jeremy, where's your shofar?
It's in my bedroom.
Well, shalom, you guys. I'm here, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Love you all, and thank you again. Shalom and Shabbat
Shalom,
shalom,
sis.
Shabbat shalom.
You too.
Shalom.
Okay.
Always glad to have you here.
Shalom. Love you guys so much.
Yeah,
I love you guys.
love.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Thanks. All right. Talk to you soon.
Shalom.
If it wasn't for her and Miranda, I wouldn't have heard about you all. And they were both persistent. Jennifer was the one that said, well, sister, could you check this out? And she sent me, I said, yeah, sure, So she sent me video after video after video, including the God culture videos, which I had a really hard time choking down. And then later on, I talked to Miranda, and she told me that she was on this group that did it, and they weren't doing it on Saturdays all the time. And I said, really? May I come on that group? She's like, oh yeah. So, oh wow, these beautiful ladies we've got there.
We have been so blessed by all y'all. We have been so baruka. Is that how you say it? We have been abundantly blessed with you all.
Yeah.
You all have something to add, and I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. I love it too. You know, that's how we've gleaned so much information together. And yeah, Miranda, you got a lot of information too, especially about the little season.
And you know, it's what's really funny. You know how the women kind of there's more women than there are men. You know, it's kind of reminds me of that verse when all the women flocking to one man kind of thing. Like,
Well,
we need more men, but we have good ones, and I'm very very thankful for all the
Well, I
men.
think we've got several good men on this gathering.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We just have more women.
It says that in the last days that a woman will engulf a man. And I thought that was really interesting. And some people think that's a terrible thing. That means that the men are not men. And it's like, no, I don't think so. I think it's that the men are learning to be one with and completed with their woman.
yeah, absolutely.
And then if you think of women as our Messiah's body and men learning how to submit to him as a bride does to her bridegroom, there's another aspect of that passage. It's like men in a lot of cultures have been taught to lord it over women. And the father's saying, nope, it's not going to be that way anymore with my people. I'm going to teach them to value and treasure and their women and teach them how precious they are and get them out of that pagan um, putting them down and treating them as though they're second rate and and they're not worth having around. And oh yeah, it's a woman's fault we got all these problems. Pandora's box, which is Greek mythology, and that whole pagan attitude is being cleansed from his people. And those that have not been, that it hasn't been cleansed from yet, he calls his daughters to come on out of that because he doesn't want us to be treated with dishonor and disrespect in his name.
It's true. There's too many going around that bash and trash women. You know, they tell them, shut up. You can't speak. You can't teach. You can't do anything. Just sit there and be quiet, basically. And that's really disgusting and detestable behavior because we see there are several women prophetesses in scriptures. And I would like to see these same men tell these prophetesses, sorry, prophetesses, hard word to say, but I'd like to see them tell them to sit down and shut up. You know, it, it's
You
really
know,
ridiculous.
they have this thing in Revelation. See, it's not supposed to be women prophets because they're Jezebels and they cause all the problems, and he's rebuking a woman that speaks and all that. And it's like, well, no, actually, he's not. He's rebuking the doctrine she's teaching. And if it was that simple, he'd have just rebuked her for being a prophetess and said, you can't be a prophetess, you're a false prophet, you're false. And so that's kind of something that some of us have had to think through because of the way that we've been treated by men who pervert the scriptures to shut us down and keep our voice
Yeah.
quiet.
No, I see it all the time, and especially because I always have Katrina's back. You know, there's all these men that come in, oh, you're just a woman, you don't know what you're talking about, and just all kinds of these rude comments, all because they can't answer a question. So they deflect and make it a personal attack, which is actually what I was going to mention. That's what we see, you know, Gina and Robert doing, and many others, not just them, but
But
just because it's,
Jeremy, only insecure people do that. If they were secure in our Abba and what he's teaching them, they would not need to put anyone else down.
yeah, precisely. That's my point too. And like they only do that because they cannot answer the questions. They see they can't answer the questions. So instead of admitting, oh hey, I may be wrong, they take that defensive stance and they're like, well, I'm gonna just attack you personally to, you know, deflect the whole conversation now. And that's kind of the example like what Gina was doing. You know, instead of answering the questions, she laughs and mocks. Then you show her a scripture where, hey, you know, laugh now, cry later, basically. And then she comes back with another one out of context, basically being hypocritical. And
Well, you
it's
know,
all,
one of the things I see with all that is just don't let them put you on the defensive. Just be
yeah,
still inside long enough to know from the Father how to respond, because if they can get you focused on yourself and how it hurts or how rude they are or all of these things, then that spirit in them is going to draw you into a pointless communication.
yeah. That's the hardest thing to work on, those, you know, putting the feelings aside and, you know, not taking their jabs. They do some pretty low blows, but
Yeah, and the best thing that I've learned how to do is sidestep it. Or I was just seeing this one video where this man says, when someone insults you, you can ask them to repeat it, or you can ask them, did you intend to be rude? You know, or something like that, that will get them not responding to what they said, but responding to what their heart intention might be. And sometimes you might find that you can address their heart intention without ever insulting them back, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, all right. We got another 2.5 hours. 6.5 hours.
All right. Well, now I think I'm going to have to say goodbye, and you all can pray for me because I've got a call coming up in 10 minutes. We're going to be doing reading Jubilees. I think we're starting with chapter 17. And I don't know if anyone would want to join, but you're welcome to. And I can give you that information if anybody's so led.
Yeah, no, Jubilee 17 is actually a good one. 17 and 18, because that's where it gets into, you know, Satan went to Yahuwah on the 12th of the first month to basically like he did with Job, he was doing it to Abraham. And then Abraham and Isaac went on that 3 days journey, which would be the 15th of the first month. And that's where Abraham is going to sacrifice Isaac, and that male ram, or that uh, male lamb was caught in the bush, sacrificed instead. No, really good chapter.
All right. Well, thank you all for your prayers and encouragement and asking how I'm doing every so often. I sure appreciate that. And shalom all. Shabbat shalom for the rest of the, at least until sunset. And if
Yes,
after that, shalom, because the intermission is at night. Hallelujah.
correct. Praise Yah. Shalom,
Shabbat shalom,
sister.
Ellie. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, think we might end it here soon as well. Unless anybody has anything else they'd like to bring up. Oh yeah, that's some terrible stuff there, Lisa. That
Yeah, I
yeah.
just saw that. That's awful. Oh, terrible, terrible. That doesn't show it's the synagogue of Satan as well. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, precisely. That's the things that they do, and it's terrible, detestable. Like we can't even. I don't even want to speak of the acts that they do because it's so disgusting. And yeah,
Yeah.
but
Awful.
people want to say, "Oh, they're his chosen people." No, not doing things like that. They aren't.
No. Uh, sorry, I'm just scrolling through here. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, Sumi. Yes, Shabbat. So this is something I figured out a long time ago, and it took me quite a while to study it out because before I figured this out, I was observing a Sabbath from sundown Friday to sunrise Sunday because I had no idea. But when you look at the scriptures, and I have it in my article as well, I walked through it, is a day, Yom, meaning the light. We are the children of light. So the Sabbath is during the light of the day, and it ends at sunset. The nights are what's going to separate each Yom or day, even though that night is still part of the day prior. So for example, day 1 of the week, then we have night 1 of the week, then day 2 of the week, then night 2 of the week. But what we see is the night is separating the days. So just like there's the division in the year, the division of the months, seasons, so forth, it's a division of the nights and the day, and it's what a kodesh, a set apart day, keeps it set apart from other days around it that would be, unclean or just a normal day. Yeah, division of days, exactly. So a Sabbath day is going to be from sunrise to sunset, unless otherwise stated, like Day of Atonement. That's otherwise stated, and it's a high Sabbath. So it's actually going to begin in the evening of the 9th, and then you end it the evening of the 10th, which is also proof, of a day starting in the morning. Yeah, yeah, they didn't have Amazon or do any commerce at night. Yeah, and that was the thing is all work was done during the day, even all the priestly work, all of these things done during the day. The only thing that happened at night was like the night watch shift. Otherwise, everything was just done during the day because they didn't have electricity, they didn't have lights to work by. Sure, they had fires and lanterns, but you try working by firelight, it's very difficult. So daytime is the best time to do all these things. Nighttime was the rest period, and we even see that so Rachel was reading the book of Adam and Eve, and that's what it talks about too. All work should be done during the daytime, not during night. And it's just what keeps the profane from touching the set apart. Yeah, correct. Oh yeah, yeah. No, that's what I meant. And I did do a reading. So my original write up, which is that write up, but it's only about half. So I did do an original reading of that on my channel, and it was before I understood this method, the divider day. So it's about half of the article up until when a day begins. So all of that's kind of going to be the same. You know, I've added more since then, but I do a reading from, you know, the introduction to when a day begins, and that's where it ended back then. And of course, I've added like way more since, but I do a reading on that, and I kind of walk through that. And the people that were listening live, some got it, but some they weren't understanding it. So yeah, it's wild. No, that's how it is. Yeah, no, I get that because I've heard people say, "Oh, well, you know, you're making my Sabbath day 12 hours instead of 24." Well, it's like, well, you know, you're not supposed to work during the night anyway, so I mean, please feel free to enjoy a 24-hour rest. It's no big deal. But Sabbath is from sunrise to sunset, and then that night is going to separate Sabbath from the unclean days. Same with the night prior. Yeah, it's 20. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and if you like doing it from sunrise to sunrise, go right ahead. It's just in my studies, I found otherwise. And it goes right along with Messiah saying, are there not 12 hours in a day? Yeah,
Well, not to mention that the guards that sat on the night watch, I mean, would they be breaking Sabbath when they were on the night watch? I've thought of that too, you know. They were guarding the wall. They were,
yeah.
working.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. So that's another point.
All right. Well, shalom, everybody. I always love coming on these calls. Can't wait to hear you all again on the seventh day, Sabbath.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining, sister. And I did we wanted to kind of go over, you know, the little season, and you have a lot of knowledge in that area. So we wanted you to be there when we talk about it
The
because you have a
Sabbath?
lot to bring to the table. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm down. Yeah, yeah. Love
Sounds
talking
very
about
good.
it.
For sure. And thanks for joining, sister. Shalom and much love to you. And yeah, I think we might end it there. What's Matthew 8:11? What's that verse say there, Lisa?
I'm sorry. 28. Wait, did I have it backwards? 28:1. Matthew 28:1, where it says, at the end of the Sabbath, at the end of Shabbat or the Sabbath, I can't remember. I have to pull it up. But now I'm trying to get into my iPhone Bible Gateway thing, and I got this stupid ad. Something about it's I think it's 28:1, as it at the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn towards the next day or the first day of the week. I think when they were talking about the Mary going to the tomb. Let me get it.
Marissa's got it there. So yeah, it says after the Sabbath at dawn on the first day.
Wait,
And
hold
so
on.
we see it was after the Sabbath, but it was still at dawn, like in that blending. So it was still part of that first day that the Sabbath had already ended. So if it was a 24-hour Sabbath, it would say just before the end of the Sabbath, before the first day, versus after the Sabbath being over, showing, you know, that the Sabbath had ended at sundown, and
Okay.
then it was evening, and now it's morning, and she's at the tomb.
Um.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
that's one of the verses that actually actually helped me to see this is Mary at the tomb. It was after the Sabbath, so it was already finished, but it was still part of that night of that seventh day night, seventh evening. So it's showing, hey, the Sabbath had ended, but then the next day hadn't started just yet. So if it
Okay.
was, if it,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's making
So
sense. Yep.
yeah. So if it was still Sabbath, it would say just before Sabbath ended, before the first day. But we don't see that in there.
Okay, good.
So
Thank you
you
for,
got
yeah, no, yeah, thank you for clarifying. Perfect.
no worries.
Okay.
Trust me, it was a subject I looked out. Yes, always the Sabbath day, the Sabbath yom. You won't see the Sabbath evening. You won't see the Sabbath night.
Wow, I never knew that. Okay, cool. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, no, look into. And I have a few verses. I think it's in Judges where it literally walks through. The day happens, then sunset comes, and it's the night that's separating the days, as the day had ended. And then it also speaks about the next morning coming. So it talks about the day starting at sunrise, ending at sunset, and then the night happening, and then the next morning coming. So it basically breaks it down like that.
Awesome. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, no
Perfect.
problem.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, like I said, some people, because, the day's 24 hours long. Well, it's actually the day and the night cycle in scriptures. Like a day is actually just the light part. The night is, of course, dark. Yeah, exactly, Ellie. Yes. Yeah, so the Sabbath ended, meaning it was over at sunset, and it was just before dawn or at dawn, which is still in that evening before the first day. So the Sabbath ended during that night. She goes there, and then the day was about to start, day one. And also, you'll see in there in the Greek, they call day one like Sabbath, and that's the same thing we see in the Dead Sea Scrolls, that they called their weeks Sabbaths. So, like the Sabbath, meaning week, would start, and then the Sabbath of the Sabbath would be, the seventh day Shabbat, which is really interesting. And you only find that language in the Dead Sea Scrolls as well. Well, besides, those couple verses in the New Testament. Yeah, evening, day, evening. Yeah, it separates. Yep, exactly. Separates the light from the darkness. Separates the yearly, weekly cycle. He separates the 4 seasons. He separates the 4 months, the seasonal months. It's all about division. Yeah, all praise to the Most High. Correct. I have that meme showing, a biblical day in scriptures, or a biblical cycle of day and night, I should call it. But it starts, well, as soon as the bottom of the sun breaks that horizon, it's going to be like full light, because before then's the blending. Then all the way until just the same at sunset. So then that very end of that sun would be leaving, and it would be the blending. It's really quite fascinating, honestly. And it's because we have the day, the evening, and then the morning. That's what's consisting of the whole cycle. So the two blendings are part of that evening. And that's what's really fascinating too, because there's a lot of people that have discrepancies on when exactly that is, and that's fine. But we see the pattern given in scriptures. You know, when the light came to be, it was full light, not a blending of light. So that's going to be the starting of our days from then on. Yeah, no problem. All right, so I think we might end it there.
Hey, I'm gonna play my song before we end.
Okay, yeah, do it. Go for it.
Yeah, I ran in here to pick this up for us all.
Awesome.
I've been walking in the darkness for so long. Now I'm trying to find out where we went wrong. In the wilderness, I put my trust in man. In my journey to get close to you, sanctify me with your glory, oh yeah. Purify your temple and the altar of my heart. Show me your ways and teach me how to keep your division of days according to your word. I'm diligently seeking to understand. I've been reading all about the work of your hands. A profound message that transcends constructs of men, giving us courage to step into the light. Sanctify me with your glory, oh yeah. Purify your temple and the altar of my heart. Show me your ways and teach me how to keep your division of days according to your word. Let your truth be revealed, for the great sign is your anchor. Remove the veil. Oh Yahuwah, your creation renewed, and your true Sabbath day will honor you. Sanctify me with your glory, oh Yah. Purify your temple and the altar of my heart. Show me your ways and teach me how to keep your division of days according to your Thank you.
Easy, who
Mhm.
love it. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining. Much love to everybody. You know, it's always an amazing fellowship coming together. And we will have our next meeting on Sunday. This Gregorian Sunday is going to be our Shabbat. And so until then, everybody have a blessed evening or a blessed rest of your day, no matter where you are. And much love to everybody. Thank you all for joining. And shalom, shalom.
Shalom,
Shalom.
shalom. Thank you, Jeremy, and everyone for all your knowledge and always doing this, gathering us together. Thank you.
No problem.
Everybody have a
Shalom,
good
shalom.
Shalom.